Okay, well, this week we've been talking about Doug Moe and his passing, and a lot of people have been touched. People in the sports community, but fans, Denver Nuggets, players that played for him. He was a character on every level, and he left such a big mark in our community, and no one will forget him. Dan Issell, NBA Hall of Famer, joined us. We really got lucky today to have you here. Also a former Nuggets coach. But you played for Doug, and so much has been said about, like, he was ahead of his time as far as fast pace and everything. But boy, he had all those plays all figured out for you.
Well,
No.
it was, no, there were no plays. His philosophy was, if we played as well as we could play, then the other team had to worry about us. And there were no game films, there were no scouting reports. One year, Kim, he started carrying a briefcase. And we were thinking, well, what's in there? Does he have game film or scouting report? He was carrying his football fantasy stuff in the briefcase.
Well, I know Tom Green talked about, he said sometimes on the radio, people expected him to talk about basketball. And he said, no, he talked about football. He talked about everything else.
The image most people have of Doug is what we showed before the break, running up and down the sides, cursing and screaming. But that was only during the game. After the game, before the game, Doug was a real big softy who cared a lot about other people.
Yeah, I know. So many people talked about that and about the fact that, he adored his wife, of course.
Big Jane.
Big Jane. And he was a good person.
Yeah.
The personality and the competitiveness showed, certainly, but he was a good person.
Yeah.
And he called everybody a big stiff, right? And
well, if he liked you, you were a big stiff.
Because so many people, I don't think, understand that whole
story.
No.
And, that was the way Doug was. He could get away with it because nobody took him seriously, and Doug didn't take himself seriously. So he could call us big stiffs and things like that. But once I've told people this before, he could call you every name in the book during the game and then go out to dinner with you afterwards. That was just the way he was.
And isn't that a special thing to be able to do? That's a gift.
Yep.
Do you have like a favorite story or something? Because I know Ron Zappolo talked about everybody should be telling Doug Moe stories this week.
My last year, we made it to the Western Conference Finals against the Lakers, who had Kareem and Magic and a roster full of Hall of Fame players. And Doug actually got fined before the series because he said, we're no hopers. We got no chance to beat this team. And he was absolutely right. But we did win a game in Denver. We get to game 5, and they are running us out of the building. We eventually lose the game by 44 points. So I'm sitting at the end of the bench, kind of reflecting on a 15-year career, and I think I hear Doug call my name. I said, what's he calling me for? The game's almost over. I hear it again. I go up, and he says, I want you to go in and I want your last shot to be a 3-point shot. So we're getting killed. The season is almost over, and he's thinking about me. So he puts me in the game. I wasn't a 3-point shooter. It was a little out of my range, but I let one fly, and by the grace of God, it went in the basket. And he took me out of the game, and he had a big smile on his face, and he made what my last game would have been a terrible memory into something very special for me.
That is so thoughtful. That's incredible. That's such a great story to hear.
That's the kind of guy Doug was.
He really had such a, when you talk about the fact that he was kind of a visionary in what he did, but he touched so many people in different ways, and his relationships with like journalists and fans and players, very different than what we see now.
No, and we watched you and Ron the other day, and what a great tribute, Kim, to Doug. But most coaches today have this anti-relationship with media. The media, like Ron and Tom Green, Woody Page, they love Doug because Doug would say, like saying we had no shot against the Lakers. Doug would lay it out there. He didn't care what he said.
So what would be the one thought that you would share that you would hope people think about when they think about Doug Moe and remember him? I know the Nuggets are going to plan some things down the road.
Yeah, not what we've talked about, not the basketball, because that was just such a tiny piece of what Doug was, just how he cared for people. And even though in his way, sometimes it was demeaning, he still loved the people he dealt with.
You knew he loved you. That story about the three-pointer, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Dan Issell, we love to have you come in. Thank you so
Kim.
much. We appreciate it. We
Thank
know this
you.
isn't an easy week, but thank you.
Thank you.